Artimis by Hannah Mckay. We start the script in a jewellery store. Artimis enters and steals the Regent diamond. As he leaves the store, there is a gang of youths blocking his way. They are beating one boy badly. Artimis attempts to walk past the group, but they don't let him through. The leader of the group decides to get involved, which ends up with him swinging through the air and crashing to the floor. This is the first meet between the two main characters. The next scene is where the leader of the group walks past the jewellery store and overhears detectives discussing a break-in at the store. The kid then starts to follow Artimis to another job, knowing it's him, hoping to get his help. Artimis doesn't take to the kid very well and makes that clear when he reveals to the kid that he knows he has been following him. However, the kid is persistent and persuades Artimis to help. The kid needs to steal a sword for a mafia gangster boss before time's up and he gets put down. The two make a plan and follow it through, on the condition that Artimis gets whatever he wants from the collection. During the heist, they realise that they are both after the same sword. However, they need to leave. Once home, Artimis holds the sword properly for the first time, and the sword starts glowing and starts burning a tattoo into Artemis's body. Billy panics as he thinks Artimis will stop him from delivering the sword. Therefore, he takes his opportunity to take it. The first act finishes with Artimis fuming about the missing sword and Billy's betrayal, and Billy entering a dangerous situation. After the first act, there is an explosive second and third. Artimis traces Billy back to the boss. The story then changes dramatically when Artimis has to choose the sword or Billy. Struggles and complications. I found that I had several difficulties with the script. The first, I struggled to connect Artimis and Billy. I was unsure on both their objectives and goals. However, I found this easier once I planned out the main beats to my story. From there, I was able to work out what each character's objective was, and finally made it easier to connect them. I needed something that kept them together, something which both of them wanted, so the betrayal would be so much more. I also found it difficult to pace my script. I wanted Billy to struggle to get Artimis to help him, however I was not sure how to do it. Within our peer assessment, I was advised on several techniques to do this. For instance, making a montage of the first meet, or making Billy have something Artimis wants. During the rewrite, I found a way to make the meet longer. I introduced several new smaller scenes. This was to make sure that Billy had found it hard to get to Artimis. Are you taking me back to your lair? Artimis raises an eyebrow at the kid and turns and walks. The kid pulls a face and follows. I wanted this to be more comical. I think if I'd worked on the action and had a better reaction from Artimis, this could have been funnier. So, what is your name? Feels funny not to know what to call you. Artimis. Artie what? Artimis raises an eyebrow. Artimis. I'll call you Artie. No, my name is Artimis. The kid laughs. Well, anyway, my name is Billy. Brilliant. Now, that's out of the way. Let's plan. Have you done a job like this before? I tried to add comedy to this scene. I found it easier to write scenes like this because I would just start writing from the characters. I could really imagine Billy asking like this and messing around. I introduced the characters' names fairly late into the script, but I did this because I wanted to keep the barriers up between the two. Plus, Artimis, with the way he is, doesn't care, so Billy once again has to take the lead. I think I could have made each robbery better by going into more detail, especially the museum heist where the plan is discussed. I think I could have researched bigger heists more so I could have made the plan more elaborate. The whole scene needs to be more detailed. Also, I think if I'd spent more time planning the scene, I could have improved it by making the journey more difficult, by adding more guards and more of a fight scene. I think I made this scene too simple and I think it would benefit from another rewrite. With my ending scenes, I don't like them. Again, I think I would have benefited from another rewrite here, as I don't think it makes much sense. Why would Artimis leave Billy with the sword? Maybe I could have made Artimis take it to his bedroom. And whilst he was showering, Billy then sneaks in to take it, as well as after Artemis realises the sword's gone, I can imagine him being crazy with rage, instead of just shouting. These scenes need to be revised. I was also considering to have Billy just leave a note for Artemis, something simple, like, I'm sorry. This would have shown that Billy didn't take the sword maliciously, he was just scared for his life. Quentin Tarantino. The way I write is really like putting one foot in front of the other. I really let the characters do most of the work. They start talking and they just lead the way. I used Tarantino's technique as an influence. I started writing conversations between Artemis and other characters. This was to make it natural. I did this mainly with Artemis and Billy as they have the majority of conversation. I found it easy to create a normal day-to-day chat between the two. I repeated this technique several times, so when I wrote the script, it was easy to know what each character would say and how they would react. There are 3 categories from Blake Snyder's Save the Cat book that I find my story relates to. These are A Golden Fleece, Bloody Love, and Superhero. A Golden Fleece. A hero goes on the road in search of one thing and winds up discovering something else. Himself. It's not clear within the first act how much of a discovery Artemis makes. It comes through very slowly throughout the script. Billy is already a big part of Artemis' life, as he has got closer to Artemis more than anybody else. This is clear with the way Artemis is with people. However, he changes slightly with Billy. He starts to joke more. Not only does Artemis discover friendship, but he also learns about himself. This is introduced within the first act when he holds the swords. It marks him with a tattoo that covers his body. The marks match the sword's markings. The first act closes with a question: what's with the sword? Throughout Act 2 and 3, some answers are given of the mystery of the sword. However, when Artemis saves Billy, he loses the sword, which means the main answer is not yet available. This genre is also where all heist movies are found. Any quest, mission, or treasure locked in a castle that is to be approached by an individual group falls into the Golden Fleece category and has the same rules. Very often the mission becomes secondary to other, more personal discoveries. The twists and turns of the plot are suddenly less important than the meaning derived from the heist. This is shown through Artemis and Billy both getting the sword and finding out what it did to Artemis. Superhero. An extraordinary person finds himself in an ordinary world. Artemis is an extraordinary person. He is stronger and faster than normal human beings, as well as being immortal. He has a natural talent of hiding from the public eye, in particular his use of shadows. Indeed, our identification with him must come from sympathy for the plight of being misunderstood. I believe that Artemis is misunderstood, enough to be sympathised with. He lives a secluded life, scared to branch out, as everyone he has ever cared for has died, and he ends up alone. Normal day-to-day life becomes a boring task. He became a thief as it was the only thing that gave him a thrill, the only thing that he enjoyed. However, he still has the good guy essence, as he doesn't want to hurt people. He just wants to live his never-ending life with a bit of fun. He spent his life being isolated and not knowing where he comes from, with no sense of belonging. Buddy love. At first, the buddies hate each other. Where would they have to go if they didn't? But their adventure together brings out the fact that they need each other. They are, in essence, incomplete halves of a whole, and realising this leads to more conflict. Who can tolerate needing anybody? Billy needs Artemis to help him. This is where the love starts to form. Not only is Billy inspired by Artemis, but also jealous, and Artemis starts to realise how good friendship is. The two of them start their relationship barely talking, and then once Billy manages to break through Artemis's barricades, he's able to start connecting with him more. Hellboy and Thor. I struggled with introducing Artemis. I looked at other scripts which helped. I found that Hellboy and Thor were good to read. Not only is the description of the characters useful, but the genre similarities are good also. Reading other scripts not only inspired me, but made it easier to work out how to format better. I looked at the relationship between the mortal and immortal characters. She gently turns his head to the light, and we see him clearly for the first time. He is magnificently handsome, long blonde hair flowing around his classically sculptured features. Thor. This time, out of the dark comes a small face, not very different from the stone demons around it. The creature extends its right arm, and it's solid stone with tiny runes engraved around the thick cylindrical wrist. Four articulated stone fingers wiggle, reaching for the chocolate. 3-act structure. Establishes Act 1, the setup, establishes main characters, setting, situation, a conflict and goal. Protagonist or hero begins the journey that achieves. I believe that I followed the 3-act structure. I established all of these main points.